Manchester United's asking price for Jadon Sancho is 25 million. Now, the relationship between Manchester United and Jadon Sancho, has almost completely broken. I don't think there's a redemption for him at Manchester United. I really thought he was going to be the future for United, really. I remember at the time we wanted him was under Ole. The front line would have been amazing. It was Marcus Rashford was on form, Martial, Greenwood before the situation, and then Sancho was going to come and just be another piece in the puzzle. But then we all know what happened, and yeah, even this season when Sancho went to Chelsea, he didn't really light it up. He wasn't really that good. I think only at Dortmund was he really spectacular last season, where they made it to the final of the Champions League. I don't know if it's the technical quality or maybe of the league or whatever, but he just can't do it in the Prem. And I think maybe at Italy he might do something. But my main point today is the fact that Juventus are the club that are interested in Jadon Sancho now. This is very good for Manchester United, or actually for me, because there are two players who maybe they could talk about during this whole, conversation between Jadon Sancho and Juventus. The two players are Douglas Luiz and Dusan Vlahovic. Now, Douglas Luiz hasn't really, put his name out there. Juventus, he's really not he's not even being picked for the team at Juventus. I think he's just fallen out. It hasn't really worked out since his move from Aston Villa. But he has proved himself in the Premier League as a reliable centre mid. I think United could use a player like him, and maybe we could even talk about a swap deal between him and Jadon Sancho. Now, I really loved Douglas Luiz when he was at Aston Villa. I think he could really do a job for Manchester United if we could talk about it with his agents and Jadon Sancho's agents, try and figure out where we could find a deal. And the next player was Dusan Vlahovic. Now, I absolutely love Vlahovic. I don't know what's happened this season. I remember him at Fiorentina, absolutely amazing. He hasn't been elite, but he's a very good striker. Very good on the ball. Also on free kicks, is very good. Tall, strong, can lead up the front line and can score you a goal. I think that's what we need as Manchester United. Our front line this season has not been great at all. Zirkzee and Hoyland, haven't really cut it this season. I think Vlahovic would be a good addition, but I think what would happen is we would have to also add a player plus cash deal, so Jadon Sancho and some cash, just to get Dusan Vlahovic to the door. And that's even if he wants to come to United. Now the thing is, I do love Dusan, but the thing is, I don't know if Manchester United are gonna, want a player swap deal. I think they'll just want 25 million straight up, no questions asked. But I would really love them to consider the likes of Douglas Luiz and Dusan Vlahovic, because there are players missing. I mean, there are pieces missing from this United team. I think a striker for sure, 100%. And I think Rasmus Højlund proved himself first season. Wasn't like absolutely great, but has a lot of potential. But I don't know if he's gonna leave or what's gonna happen with him. I think Zirkzee is gonna stay, the way I've heard reports and stuff. So I really think we need a striker who can just score a goal. That's all we need. I mean, with the likes of Cunha, Bruno, and likely Mbeumo coming to United, that's a lot of creative players feeding the ball, creating chances, scoring goals. We need a striker who can grab a goal or two. So yeah, those are two players I think United should go for in this type of deal. So yeah.